Well, you did it. You just hit level 80. Now you're sitting there after a long journey of killing and questing like, what do I do now? Well, if you want the short answer, whatever you want. Thanks to all my subscribers, make sure you click like and smash that notification button. Sorry. But if you want a more serious answer, stick around because we're going to go over everything you can do in Guild Wars 2 once you hit level 80. I mean, you could always just stand in the middle of Lion's Arch and stare at this screen like the rest of us. That's the real end game. Hello again and welcome back to the Heavy Hat. Probably not a surprise if you're watching this, but the max level of characters in Guild Wars 2 is level 80. And opposed to several other MMOs, that's where it's gonna— Whoa, dude, your beard is huge. How long has it been since you made a video? Yeah, you know, things happen. But the first thing you should be asking yourself is, what do I enjoy doing? Because that'll determine a lot of the next steps for you. However, as we go through all of these, I would challenge you to at least try each one once. You'd be surprised at what you find fun and what you don't. For example, I thought I was going to hate World v World, because I'm not really huge into PvP stuff. But then I made a support character, and it's a lot of fun keeping people alive as they all smash into each other. I'm going to timestamp everything in this video for you guys, but here's a list of everything we're going to go over. We got finish the stories. The base story, Heart of Thorns, Path of Fire, and the Living World stories. You can gear up, trading posts, fractals, dungeons, dragon response missions, strike missions, raids. Look for a good build. You can do crafting. You can make armor, weapons, sigils, craft ascended gear, craft legendaries. You can do daily achievements, continue to quest, do fashion wars, get into collections, really get into a bunch of the achievements, and get all your mounts. You can get a glider, you can upgrade the glider, open world events, do each map's meta, do world bosses. You can just explore. You can also do jumping puzzles. You can chill out, you can roleplay, you can do PvP. You got World v World, level up and all. You can max out your home instance. There's a bunch of holiday events too. Got map completion, and more. Whew. Let's get started. One of the coolest things about this game is that it's got a giant story attached to it. Now with any MMORPG, they've all got a lot of lore, but the personal story in this game really lets you live through it all. Now don't get me wrong, some of the writing in this game is a little bit cringy though. Yes, Queen, yes, you tell that man. And as you go through the whole story, you really see how far ArenaNet has come. You go through some of the old ones and you realize that the writing has gotten a lot better since then. But not only does the base game have its own story, each expansion has one too. Heart of Thorns has a whole story, Path of Fire has a whole story, Into Dragons when it's coming out is going to have its story too. And then in between expansions you have the Living World. Another thing you're going to want to do once you hit level 80 is start to gear up. Whoa, is your beard okay? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean. You doing okay? Am I okay? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Why? But one of the biggest goals everyone has in MMOs is to get the best gear. In most MMOs, an expansion comes out and completely nullifies everything that you have. The developers will come out and say,
oh my gosh, we're raising everybody's levels by 10, and all the gear you have, all the hard work you just did, that's totally useless.
Cool. That's 1,000 hours I won't get back.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it.
But in Guild Wars 2, since the max level doesn't change even though we get new expansions, if you get good gear, it's still going to be good gear for years. One of the easiest ways, although it is more expensive, is just to buy gear on the trading post. You can get your character to level 80 and get full exotic gear in like 10 minutes, if you're willing to drop the gold for it. Pro tip on this, by the way, one of the most common gear types people go for is called Berserker's gear, where basically you're a glass cannon. You do a whole lot of damage, but you don't have a lot of health. If you search for Berserker's gear in the trading post, you'll get a bunch of gear, but it's going to be more expensive. You can actually search for the cheaper version depending on the type of armor you wear though. And that's exactly the same, it just looks a little bit different. But let's say you want to choose your stats. Instead of spending 10 to 12 gold for shoulders, you can actually buy the shoulders of the Even Vanguard Choice Chest. It's not that expensive and it lets you choose your shoulders. And then for the headpiece, you can buy the Ice Golem's Maw Box. It's the same exact thing for the headpiece. And then you can choose your stats for that too. This will help you get into a head start if you're trying to get gear that's a little bit more tough to get. For example, for my Necromancer, I have a bunch of Marshal's gear on it, and this helped me get 2 pieces really easy. But continuing on for gear, one of my favorite parts about this game is you can play whatever class however you want. Yes, there's going to be much more optimal builds than others, but if you want to wear cloth armor as a Necromancer and you want to be a tank, you can do that. It's pretty darn cool. Just got to make sure you buy gear with a lot of toughness on it, and then change your build to make sure you have a lot of defense. Almost every single class can do that. And really one of the most fun things that I do is just mess around with my build and see what I like. I've made a couple build videos of my own and I do plan on making some more, but it's really cool to be able to change that completely on the fly. Let's say you don't want to buy a gear off the trading post. That's totally cool, I get it. You can actually craft all of it too. And as a matter of fact, you can craft pretty much everything in this game. While each character you have can only have 2 crafting professions at a time, you can spread it out between all your characters and essentially have access to every single type of crafting there is. It's actually a really good way to make money too. But let's say you're not content with exotic gear and you want to go a little higher. Hey, most of us do. You can also craft ascended gear and you can craft legendary gear. Now there are whole videos made about this, but suffice it to say is if you go get the materials and you buy the recipe, you can craft every single piece for yourself. Plus some of the legendaries look really cool. Word of caution though, take a really long time to make. But try to make Exordium for a few months. I get really into it for about a week, and I just give up. Screw this crap! And then a week later, I'm still making it. It takes a lot of effort. Another one of the most popular things in this game are achievements. Now, opposed to other MMOs or other games where you just get quests, a lot of the achievements in this game are essentially basically our quests. You can pull up the achievements tab and look at a whole lot of stuff that you can do. At first glance, it might seem a little bit weird, and I will agree it does take a different mindset to get into it, but a lot of them are really fun. For example, I would really recommend getting back into the Return to achievements, where you go back to all the old zones. They have you do a couple different things, like a couple of PvE events, a couple of jumping puzzles, but the rewards are amazing. I actually was focusing on that over the last week, and I made about 400 gold from it. So in addition to the gold, you get some really cool rewards from it too. There are people that dedicate themselves to this and call themselves achievement hunters. While I'm not exactly one of them, I do see the appeal to it. Besides that, every single day there's a set of daily achievements that you can do, where the reward is 2 gold. Doesn't seem like a whole lot, but that adds up really quick for not a lot of work. Next up though, we got Fashion Wars 2, baby. I did make a joke video about this being the end game, and in a lot of ways it kinda is. But one of the most fun things about this game is that you can be completely unique compared to everybody else around you. You can completely transmog all your gear to look different, and then you can dye it whatever color you want. There are hundreds of dyes out there and hundreds of pieces of armor, so the combinations are pretty endless. Pro tip on this, by the way. To change a piece of armor, you have to have a transmutation charge. And while yes, you can buy these with real money, don't bother. We'll get to World v World soon, but seriously, go do World v World for a few days and you'll have like 40 of them. Another part of the achievements is collections. I'm gonna be real honest and say I've never really been into these, especially the minis. But if you're someone that really likes minis, there's a lot of them. In addition to that, a lot of the basic quests are just going and collecting a bunch of things to get a big reward at the end. If you like scavenger hunts, this is for you. In addition to achievements, there's the whole mastery system. Masteries in Guild Wars 2 is basically one of the big parts of in-game progression. They call it horizontal progression instead of vertical progression because you're going to still be the same level, but you just get better at certain things. For example, part of the masteries is getting a bunch of different mounts. Now again, I can make an entire video about the mounts in Guild Wars 2 and how they're different than every other MMO, but each mount does something different. And the masteries you can earn for them help them get better at doing that certain thing. Then there's the glider, which is a lot of fun. You get the glider from Heart of Thorns, and you can continually upgrade that to where you can go faster, you can slow down, you got more stamina, you can even turn invisible for a little bit. Although I don't know if I've ever used that. Either way, gliding is a lot of fun. Now the most common thing that people do when they hit level 80 is do open world metas. Some of the open world events are literally like, oh cool, me and 50 other people are suddenly fighting a giant boss right in the middle of nowhere. This is pretty fun. And usually they're not super hard and they give you pretty good rewards overall. A lot of people just farm all these metas in these events just to sell all the stuff they get and make a lot of money. Similar to open world metas are world bosses. All over the main map, there are giant bosses that spawn every 2 hours that again give you pretty good rewards, but are just a fun group exercise to do. Some are pretty easy and some are kind of challenging, but ultimately it's a fun way to hang out with your friends. Now if you want to get into a little bit more organized PvE, you've got the old dungeons, Fractals of the Mist, Dragon Response missions, Strike missions, got a whole video about that by the way, and then you got raids. I'm gonna be completely honest and say dungeons are pretty much abandoned by the developer and have been replaced by Fractals, but the old dungeons are still fun to visit and they still give pretty good rewards. As a matter of fact, some of the sigils they give you for armor are like best in slot, so it's still worth doing. But Fractals of the Mist are like mini dungeons. Each have their own little story, achievements behind them. They're actually one of the easiest ways to get ascended gear too. But they're fun, quick 5-man dungeons. They can be super easy or they can be super hard. Some of them you can go in and not really know anything and be just fine, and the higher you get up, the harder they get. For some people, this is all they do. It's like climbing up a ladder to the harder and harder difficulties. Similar to Dungeons and Fractals are Dragon Response missions. If I'm going to be honest, these are probably a little bit easier than Dungeons or Fractals, but But if you're someone that really enjoyed the story of Guild Wars 2 and really want to experience over and over again, these are for you. You can get pretty cool gear from it, and they're fun short little instances. But let's say you get a little hardcore and you want to do some 10-man content. You got strike missions and you got raids. Easiest way to remember this, strike missions are faster, they're quicker, and they're not as hard. Doesn't mean they're not fun though. Again, I'm going to throw a link to my video of strike missions, where I basically do a lowdown of every single one for you. But they're quick, fun little boss fights that you can get some pretty darn good gear from too. Raids on the other hand are the real PvE endgame. While most other instance content or organized PvE you can get away with maybe messing up here and there, raids you're going to want to be on the top of your game. I've recently gotten into raids a lot, but they're a lot of fun. Word of caution though, if you go into a raid as a DPS, that is all you're going to do. If you go into a raid as a tank, that's all you're going to do. If you go in as a healer, that's all you're going to do. Focus on your role in raids. I know Guild Wars 2 makes it really easy to be able to do a little bit of everything, but for raids you're going to want to be really specialized. But if you want legendary armor, raids are going to be where you're going to get it. Up next though, we got World v World. I love World v World, which again is weird because I'm not a huge fan of PvP, but somehow this just works. World v World is 3 different servers all placed against each other. You're all given a certain color between red, green, and blue, and you stay that color for a week. And during that week, you try to take over as much of the land as you can. Long story short about World v World, there's a bunch of different maps, and it's a mixture of PvP and PvE, but the fights in here can be anywhere between 1v1 or 100 people versus another 100 people. I've seen both, but honestly going with a group of like 50 people and being this unstoppable Zerg, it's also pretty fun. So you meet up with another Zerg from the other team, and your frames per second become a slideshow. Even my 1080 Ti can't handle it very well. My favorite thing about World v World is you can pick which reward track you want to go on. Meaning simply as you level up and as you participate, you're constantly rewarded with treasure chests. Also half the time you get tomes of knowledge, and the other half of the time you get transmutation charges. So really you can level up alts super easy, and you can make your gear look like whatever you want. There's also the standard PvP mode though. There's ranked and there's unranked, but all you gotta do to play PvP is enter the PvP lobby. This button right here. Cool thing is you're automatically made level 80. There's also a great way to try out any class or build that you want. So for example, let's say you just haven't ever made a necromancer, or you just don't have one yet. Make a level 1 one, pop into the PvP lobby, and then you can fool around with one that's level 80 and see if you like it or not. Cool thing about PvP as opposed to World v World is everybody's put on an even playing field. Your gear really isn't all that important, it's really just your skill. The battles are going to be 5v5 and they're a lot of fun. Pro tips by the way for World v World or PvP. Every build you make, you're going to want some sort of condition cleanse and some sort of stun break. If you don't have those, you're going to get trapped and burned to death real quick. But if you've done all that and you still want some more stuff to do, you could just explore. This game is really pretty. Sometimes it's nice just to relax and cruise around. You could also do jumping puzzles. If you hate yourself, post that in the comments if you like jumping puzzles. I'm fine at them, I just don't enjoy them. But if you do like jumping puzzles, they're all over the world. Each one's got a chest at the end of it and most of them have an achievement. Here's something that you don't think of a whole lot. Every one of us has a home instance. Now don't get me wrong, I do wish ArenaNet would have player homes involved. I think it'd be really cool to be able to customize our home, couches and furniture, blah, 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 blah. ArenaNet can make a killing on the gem store with that. But the cool thing is you can upgrade your home instance with a bunch of nodes from all over the place. The footage you're seeing right now came from my guild leader, and his home instance is off the hook. But all of these nodes reset every single day, and you can go in and farm all of them every single day. It's a good way to make a lot of money. Something that happens a lot, but not all the time, is the holiday events. Pretty much every single major holiday that's around, ArenaNet has a cool event around it. And there's a lot of different activities you can do just during that event. And it's fun because they go away and you can only do them during that time. Technically speaking too, let's say you just want to level up an alt, you can do that. Pick a different playstyle, pick a different type of class. Or if there's a certain profession that you don't like, see if you can make a build to see if you can make it a way that you like it. I think it'd be kind of cool. And if after all of that, you're still bored, go outside. Seriously, no, like take a break, go outside, do something else. Play a different game. It's okay not to play only one game exclusively. We're in an open relationship, baby. But there's your list of literally every single thing I could think of that you can do in this game. That was a long one.
That's what she said.
Oh, and by the way, if you haven't seen my turbo cooker video, go watch it. I found out there's a second one. Totally gonna make a video on that. That was fun. Either way, post in the comments your favorite thing to do in Guild Wars 2. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't. And as always, guys, Have fun. What?